Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. This week, Sarah Segal tells Shawn Busse and Jay Goltz why she's decided to take her public relations business back after selling it 2 years ago to a larger firm so it could handle the back-end stuff and allow her to focus on public relations. For Sarah, the immediate result of the decision to break away has been an exhausting few months starting over, including reincorporating, finding health insurance, and reducing her own pay. Meanwhile, Jay suggests an old-school marketing tactic that involves leveraging an envelope, a stamp, and the post office. And Shawn explains how he created a sales process that has allowed him to remove himself from day-to-day sales. Plus, a listener asked the three owners, when do you know if you've made it? Or do you ever know? Shawn, Jay, and Sarah, three owners at very different stages of building a business, offer three very different answers. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations, brought to you by our principal sponsor, The Great Game of Business, will let owners know they are not alone in facing challenges. Same thing with our daily newsletter, the 21 Hats Morning Report, which Inc. magazine named the best newsletter for business owners and which you can subscribe to for free at 21hats.com. where you can also find transcripts of our podcast episodes and lots of other articles and interviews. Joining me this week on the podcast are regulars Shawn Busse, CEO of Kinesis, which is based in Portland, Oregon, and works with small businesses on marketing, culture, and strategy. Jay Goltz, whose companies in Chicago include a picture frame business, artist frame service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. And Sarah Segal, who is founder and CEO of Segal Communications, a public relations firm based in San Francisco. The episode is titled, Walking Away from a Salary. But before we get started, I've got a little news. I've scheduled the first 21 Hats Live event for Chicago from May 17th to May 19th. This is your chance to meet the regulars on the 21 Hats podcast, along with other owners and CEOs in the 21 Hats community. This will not be a traditional conference where people talk at you. It's going to be an intimate gathering limited to just 20 attendees. We'll have several deep dive peer group sessions where you'll get to raise your own challenges and issues. You'll also get to participate in the taping of a podcast. But most of all, you'll get to engage and connect in a relaxed setting over good food with other owners and CEOs on similar journeys. Let me know if you want more information. You can do that by replying to your morning report or by emailing me at lauren@21hats.com. If you're interested, please let me know soon. As I said, we're only taking 20 attendees. Now, on to today's episode. Welcome, Jay, Shawn, and Sarah. It's great to have you here. Sarah, let's start with you. I think you have some news to share.
Yeah, a little news to share. So 2 years ago, I was offered the opportunity to be acquired by a larger entity, and I was being brought in by somebody that I respected and really saw the opportunity to not have to handle my back end stuff anymore and really kind of cross collaborate with a larger team, and the opportunity was there, and we did it for 2 years. But end of last year, I had a nice chat with him and I said, you know what? I don't think it's going where I wanted it to go. And I think we should break up. And so we broke up.
What wasn't going the way you wanted it to go?
Well, there were a lot of just varying factors. Like, I really liked the people. Like, there was no doubt about that. Like, they were super smart, wonderful, warm, encouraging, supportive. I learned so much over the last 2 years. But in terms of my business and the growth of my business, I wasn't seeing a value that made me want to continue to kind of, I felt like I was kind of hitting my head against the wall in terms of finding better ways to integrate our businesses and cross-pollinate with their teams, because their teams are fantastic. It was an issue of finding the right projects to work on together, but also the majority of their folks were on the East Coast and the majority of my people are on the West Coast. So it's a time zone. It was not the right time or place. And the vision, the person that kind of prompted the whole acquisition left shortly after we were acquired. And so that visionary was never around really to kind of see it through. So I don't know if that impacted what it would have been, but it never blossomed. Let's put it that way.
Was it more that you had hoped that they would refer business to you, or was it that you just didn't work well together?
Oh, no. Well, we worked fabulous together and we did have the opportunities, but the natural flow of business opportunities wasn't there. And that was kind of what incentivized me to do it, was that, oh, yeah, we'll have all of the stuff that we can push your way. And it was pretty limited. It was because that person that had started the whole idea wasn't there to advocate for it. There's no one there to do it. And I was busy running my business and I didn't have a knowledge base necessarily of every opportunity. And probably a lot of that is on me not taking more initiative. But sometimes you just got to say, you know what, let's be friends. So January 1st, we're our own entity again. And they have been nothing but awesome and supportive and encouraging and a great resource for me, and helped me find a new general counsel that I could use on contract. Like, it wasn't a bad experience. It was just not the right experience. That's all.
Did you have to buy the business back?
No.
I mean, they never really gave you a check in the first place, right?
I got a little bit of a check, but it wasn't anything substantial. It was more the opportunity for growth.
Right. It was like a collaborative effort, and nothing ventured, nothing gained. So, okay.
Yeah, exactly, Jay.
So how does it feel?
Well, last 2 months of the year, I swear, like, I probably had a heart attack probably about 15 times, because it's not my first time at the rodeo. When I first started my business, I had a business partner. She left. So I literally had to restart again, rebrand, all of that kind of good stuff. And then I was acquired. And the idea initially was that I would merge with one of their existing brands. And that didn't work out. So I had started that process, and then we paused on that. And then when we finally fully integrated there, everything was great. So, but I, dissolved my LLC. I didn't have healthcare independently. So the last 2 months of the year, I literally was restarting an entire business. And so January 1st, I had $0 in my account. And that was a little stressful.
I bet.
Clients paid this month, so things are good. And I didn't leave on my own. Like, my entire team is still showing up to work every day, and they're getting paid. And that's all that really matters.
So you're obviously not a startup. You're more of a reboot.
I'm more of a reboot, yeah. But if anybody wants to know how to start a small business from scratch, I've done it many times now.
You're a glutton for punishment.
I am, but I learned things. Like, I'm not going to say anything terrible about providers and vendors, but there were a couple vendors that I used when I first started that were terrible. And then I found better vendors. So I think that I'm more set up. And this time around, I also have the benefit of my first employee that I had hired. She transitioned into an operations manager role. And so she has been instrumental in helping me with all of the nitty gritty. So I haven't been doing it totally on my own again. I have had somebody who is helping me figure it out.
So on the entrepreneurial dashboard, there's 3 major gauges: marketing, management, and finance. My guess is you got the management thing down. What is your weakest spot that you're most concerned about? Is it the finance piece? Is it the finding new business piece? What is it
that's keeping you up at night?
Maybe. I hate that phrase, but maybe that's the right phrase.
Well, I think always is just making sure that I can meet payroll. That's always going to be the number one thing. And I've reduced and negated some of my income since the beginning of the year, just to make sure that I start to have a little bit of a pad. And they always say, well, when you're the owner, you're the boss, you're the last person to get paid. And I'm fine with that position. I'd rather make sure that things keep going along in the way that they should. So that's probably my biggest stress, is the finance part. As far as new biz, it's very weird, but we're getting a lot of new biz, like, knock on wood. But I think we're just starting to be more of a presence because of the various things that we've done over the years to kind of establish ourselves.
That's interesting because this is a bit of a tough time, especially for tech companies. And I know you have a lot of them in your neighborhood. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you think your business is picking up?
Yeah, we have tech clients for sure. So there are a lot of agencies that will be very specific about what kind of clients they work with. They'll say, we only do food and beverage. We only do technology. We only do B2B. We don't do that. And that saved us during COVID. I think I've mentioned before, I watched one agency literally dissolve into nearly nothing because they were only hospitality. And so while I would love to say I want to have an absolute focus and only do beer clients.
I thought it was chocolate.
I thought it was picture framers.
Chocolate's my goal. I like to have a diversity of clients, and so does my team, because it keeps you kind of fresh on what's happening in various industries. So to your question, yeah, all the big guys are dropping employees like hotcakes. But my theory about that is that some of them are doing it not because they need to do it, but because other companies are doing it. It's okay now. It's normal. Like I read an article the other day about Microsoft, and their earnings have been pretty good. They don't really need to lay off as many people as they did, but they may have done it because, they wanted to trim the fat. And why not do it now when everybody else is laying people off?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's that, it's so much. Somebody was pointing out the other day that I can't remember which tech company it was. It might have been Amazon. They laid off 10,000 people, and they made the point that they hired 40,000 the quarter before. So it's like these numbers look really dire. Part of that's the media wanting to create a narrative that gets clicks, even though, people are losing their jobs and it's pretty awful.
Yeah, but the unemployment rate is still 2-3%. It's still super, super low. Yeah. Like we're actually hiring right now. We're looking to hire 2 new people. I'm actually interviewing 2 people today.
Does that feel different, Sarah, hiring now? Are you a little bit leery of that out on your own?
No, well, I just have to make sure that it's the right fit. And it's a process. I know I need to make sure that I have the numbers to pay that person, right? The problem isn't necessarily, it's hard to find people, especially in the Bay Area that do anything besides B2B and tech. Like we have beer and wine and jewelry and metaverse. I mean, we have a diversity, and we like to find people that are happy to do both. But if you worked at a tech company, like in their communications department, and then you want to work in an agency, we're not going to be able to compete with your salary. The challenge is finding good people for the right price.
How did your existing staff react, Sarah? Did they have to be reassured? Were they excited? What was their take?
They were a little anxious. They hadn't been through it before. Sarah on my team, who's my operations manager, she came into the company with me and left the company with me. She wasn't concerned necessarily. I think that everybody just wanted to see the dust settle. And we now have a nice little office in San Francisco. Our desks are minimal, but we have 3 more desks set to arrive next week. They're seeing that there was no change in their day-to-day and or their paycheck. And I think that once that was apparent, people were a little bit more relaxed.
How far is your office from where it was?
4 blocks.
Oh, good. So nobody said, "Oh, this is hard for me to get here now," or something. Okay.
No, I'm in can I just show off my location? I have a tiny, it's not a huge office, but it's a fine office for me. And it's literally a block from Dragon's Gate, which is the beautiful gates to Chinatown, a block from the financial district. And then there's a really nice hotel about a block away with a nice cocktail at the end of a long day.
That sounds good.
I'm surrounded by dim sum.
Well, let me ask this question, because I think I remember when I first met you, you had just, the partner had left and you were just picking up steam. And then, as you said, you thought this was a good thing because you wouldn't have to deal with the back end stuff. So my question is, I don't know that you ever fully hit stride on your own. So I'm just wondering what piece of that, quote unquote, the backroom stuff did you never really have to deal with that now you have to?
I'm one of those people that I like to know how to do everything. it's hard for me not to know how to do everything. I'm like a generalist, right? And I'm realizing that more and more that I can't know how to do everything. Like, for example, I have a social media team and they know how to use this, scheduling program, and they know how to do all these bells and whistles in social media. I'm like, I have no idea what they do. And if they were to ever depart, I'd be in the hole because I couldn't step in and help.
You need them to write down their processes.
Yeah, we actually are. We're working on a best practices and a SOPs document right now. But still, it's I can't, even if they were and I had it written down, I couldn't fill those shoes.
Congratulations. You've made the jump from profession to running a business. I certainly can't do everything that all my employees do. And that is a jump that you have to finally get to. I mean, there's people that are running businesses can't do every single thing in the business. That's just the nature of the beast. So.
And that's been a big thing, Jay. I have to realize that it's not even a good use of my time to know how to do everything.
I have to tell you, good for you, because there's lots of people that never get to that stage and they go their entire career like that with 3 employees because they need to have their hands on everything. And it does stunt your growth. So I'm glad to hear that you've come up with that realization and you're dealing with it. Good for you.
Sarah, has it changed your outlook for this year? Is it affecting your goals, your hopes and dreams for what you hope to accomplish this year?
I met with everybody on the team and we did their goals we're doing quarterly goals for team this year. So everybody has 3 goals just for the quarter. I haven't done my own goals yet just because I finally have come up for air. And I think that my biggest goal, and Jay will probably be proud of this, is to do what he's always advised, working on the business, not in the business. And that's part of the reason we're hiring some more people so I can get fully out of the day-to-day.
Congratulations again. No, that's you don't have to do that, but if you want to grow, you have to do that. And like I said, there's lots of businesses in America. Most, probably 99% of businesses never get past that. They run their business. They've got their 6 or 8 employees. Everything goes through them and they make a living and then they retire one day. There's very few companies statistically that get that big that you have to do that. And some people don't have the head for it or really don't want to. So it sounds like you're making good progress with all that.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask me, I want to grow. I mean, I definitely I don't know that I'll ever be, Fleshman Hillard size, but I want to be a contender and establish something. I mean, I feel like if you look at my growth in general over the last 5 years, it's been substantial. And if I can keep up that momentum or even double it, but I want to grow smart. I don't want to get ourselves into trouble. I've actually thought about the idea of it would be great to acquire a smaller agency that really is a 2-person show with a bunch of clients just to get some grow that way. But I haven't totally figured out my goals yet.
Sarah, how do you get new business in terms of, is it predominantly through your network? Is it through marketing you do, something else?
So we do a lot of original content. And so that's number one. And so we're constantly pushing that out. We have a newsletter that goes out on a regular basis. I am part of several organizations, so I try to be as involved as possible. I was just elected to the board of directors for the Public Relations Association chapter here in San Francisco. So it's just, talking to people and being referred, and then literally asking my clients, say, hey, refer us, say something nice about us. And then we work with a bunch of marketing agencies as well on great projects. And I will constantly refer them and they will refer me back. Most of the relationships I have, they're like, yeah, you'll get me back. And then I'll send them work. So because we don't do digital marketing, that's not our thing. And most marketing agencies will have a PR person, but they don't really do what we do. There's not much competition. So we're happy to refer either direction.
How do you see your involvement in the sales process as you grow and scale and bring more people?
Good question. My sales process is not fine-tuned. And it is, I listen to podcasts a lot outside of this one. And
Sarah,
there's a lot of
blasphemy.
I know.
No, there's a big pie, plenty of room.
And, how do you systemize it? How do you systemize your process for new business? And I would love your thoughts on that. But also, I don't want to systemize it so much that it's impersonal. I am still trying to navigate what that looks like.
I can tell you an opportunity after 45 years. I've used, I think I've had 3 or 4 PR firms over the years. How many people call me, send me a letter on an annual basis saying, hey, we've been looking at your business. I think you've got an interesting story. I would love to talk to you about being your PR. How many of those outreaches do I get? Zero in 45 years. I think there's an opportunity for brainstorming, like what companies would you like to work for? And then sending them a letter, and an actual paper letter with a stamp and the whole routine in an envelope.
Really?
That says I've been looking at, I've had this conversation with Shawn. I seldom get one. I certainly, when you get an envelope that's typed out to your name, when you know this is like the lady or the tiger, it's either going to be I love your company, thank you so much, or you're scum of the earth and I'm suing you. It's one or the other. Or it's a legal thing. Now, I never get those. I haven't had one of those in many, many, many years, but I always open them, and it's just surprising to me that the amount of emails I get every day pitching me. I get like you get. I get 20, 30 a day, and like I'd open the letter and I'd read it.
I literally get at least 2, maybe 3, either LinkedIn in-mails or regular emails every day with somebody saying, hey, we can send you new business leads with our magic skills and tools. Like, I never open those up.
I get them.
Never.
I delete. Like, literally, it's hard for me to look at my LinkedIn mail nowadays because it's like, that's all it is. It's somebody wanting to prostitute my business for me.
And they're usually not even written well. And, you think to yourself, if you can't write a letter to me trying to get me as a client, why would I hire you to help me go out and market? You can't even market yourself.
Yeah. And as a PR professional, it's interesting because I have clients that will get solicited by another agency, and then my clients will send me the email. I'll be like, what is this? Because it's another agency. We actually had a funny scenario where there's this agency that I swear that it was just going down my list of clients that I had listed on my website, and they were emailing every single one of them. And so it was just this kind of running joke of like, oh, they're back at it again.
That's tacky.
Yeah.
That is very tacky.
I mean, if we can step back just a sec, Sarah,
Sure.
And just an experience share on the sales side of things. When I finally sat down and shifted from Shawn's intuition is the sales process to, okay, let's map this out and build a system, it really changed our company. So we mapped it out into like a discrete 7 or 8 steps. And then we mapped that to our CRM, which would make Gene Marks really happy. And essentially what it allowed us to do is to start optimizing the process and see like, where were we losing people? Where were people really affirming us as a choice? And it really helped us scale. And it also then allowed me to do the magic trick, which a lot of companies struggle with, which is for me to actually get out of sales. Because now we had a way to do it that I could train somebody in, and we could optimize that. So I started training my internal teams and how to do the work. And even yesterday, we were looking at making an announcement to all our clients. And I was like, wow, I have no connection to these 3 clients because the sales process was run by other people.
First of all, I did literally, that was one of the January things is one of my staffers, like, she's really interested in doing more of the new biz and the strategy and all that kind of stuff. So I had her on a new biz call with me yesterday, and she's going to start doing the proposals and all of that. And she's just natural at it. She makes people feel awesome. And so it's a natural fit. So yeah, I am doing that. B, I want to hear about your process. Tell me about your process. I'm curious.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things we did is we picked a CRM that was easy. So essentially we could make the process easy too. And the rough outline is first stage is the initial conversation. So somebody's curious about what it is you do. They have an interest, but you haven't validated them. And that's, kind of like the inbound inquiry level. And a lot of stuff comes into that and then never goes any further because a lot of times they don't have budget. They don't actually want to buy what you're offering. They're confused, et cetera, et cetera. But then those that make it through that, essentially what we're trying to do is discover what they're trying to achieve. And that's a lot of inquiry. They should do more talking than we do, less pitching from us and more them sharing what their challenges are. And then that becomes the shape of subsequent meetings, which is starts to become us talking about how we can address their needs, which is probably very similar to you and your pitch process. From there, we try to get to an agreement at the end of this meeting, like, hey, do you feel like moving forward for us together makes sense? Do you want to set up another meeting to talk about our engagement agreement and, kind of the nuts and bolts of how this would be? So every step is designed to get more and more specific to where the last meeting is about the engagement agreement, where we're actually reviewing the agreement together and getting them to either say yes to everything or to answer the questions that they're confused about. And the idea being that we're never sending a proposal, like never.
Really?
What I mean by that is I'm never emailing somebody something. It's always a conversation to get to an agreement. And the proposal for us is to engage in what I think we talked about in one of the earlier podcasts about that discovery process, what we call True North, which is the kind of short engagement, 4 months to kind of get to the essence of their business and make sure that when we work together, it's really a great experience. And if it's not, 4 months is no big deal.
What is your first point of contact? Are you actually using that thing that's on a desk with the telephone? Are you actually calling people? Are you sending? What is the first point of contact?
So if you're talking top of funnel, like how to get people interested, a lot of times it's like Sarah, it's referral, it's centers of influence, it's word of mouth. Before the pandemic, the most powerful engine of new business generation for us was speaking, like, going to a conference and being a speaker, and workshops. So inviting people to be part of something where they were going to learn. As what we discovered is that business owners who want to learn are really a good fit for us. Because if they want to learn, then they're open to new ideas and they're not the kind of business owner who comes to the table thinking they know everything. And so learning environments are really good for us. So that's top of the funnel.
I know I said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I actually answer my phone. And I'm telling you, 95% of the people that call are so incompetent. First, they start with, how are you today? The second they say that, I know it's a sales call. And it's like, I know you don't care how I am today. Can you just get to the point?
Shawn or Sarah, do you answer the phone if you don't know who's calling?
Well, there's no way for somebody to reach me, which is sort of intentional from a sales perspective.
That would be no.
Yeah.
Sarah?
Our old office, we had what is the system? UMA. We had that system and everybody had a number. And nobody ever used it. So,
yeah.
And everybody uses their cell phone. So here we got internet service and it came with a free telephone line. And I just set that up to where it automatically goes to a digital voicemail. So we'll get those, but nobody calls.
Yeah.
I've been getting the ones that are literally every day. I get a call from these we can get you the employee tax. I don't know where these people came from, but it's on my cell phone too. Those
are scammers, the employee retention tax credit. They want a huge percentage of it. You want to stay away from them.
Well, I don't even answer them, but
I think I get more new business if on my website I said, hey, text me. Mm-hmm. Because so many people just text. They don't even want to send an email.
I don't mind that. I think that's a good idea.
Like, hey, text us if you want to talk. And there are ways that you can set up text where you can establish a text that goes to a different phone number, but it routes to your number. So it's not your personal text, but you still get it on your phone.
In a business like ours, a lot of times you have to create awareness for the buyer that they actually have a problem. This is why for us, education has been a really good play, right? You have to get folks to understand the nature of the challenge in order to sell to them.
You know what? I can't argue with that. You're not selling phone systems. You're not selling car leasing. You're selling something that it might be too difficult to actually find that customer that you could actually get a hold of, but then get them to understand what you do. So in your particular case, okay, maybe a phone call is not, it's difficult. I think there's plenty of other businesses though, stuff that I would absolutely pay attention to that don't call.
I mean, Lauren and I are starting a new marketing podcast. I hope it's okay to announce this, but essentially, one of our first guests, he did that, Jay. He did that. And it is transformed his business. I mean, he's got rocket fuel. Fundamentally, he identified very, very carefully what his right fit buyer was and what the need was he was solving and how he solved it in a different way. And I think the problem with all these spammers is they have terrible messaging. And to your point, they don't get to the point. They try to use this like, would you like a free Yeti cooler in order to talk to me? Or I'll take you to dinner if you spend time. And it's like, what? What are you trying to sell me?
I have a question. Shawn.
Yes.
What do you do to drive inbound new biz outside of referral?
Yeah, well, like I was saying, pre-pandemic, it was education. It was, so I would go to, say, a manufacturing association and say, hey, are your members concerned about employee recruiting and retention? And they'd be like, yeah, they suck at it and they're struggling really hard. I'd be like, great. I have a presentation I can give. It's not a sales pitch, but it's all about how they can become better at recruiting and retention. And so I would give that presentation and basically give away our IP and say, hey, you can absolutely DIY this stuff. Here's how you would do it. And then 10% of them would look at me and go, this looks kind of hard. And also, I don't want to try to do it myself because I have a job. How about you help me with this? And, I would get lots of business through that. It was a great methodology, teaching people.
You don't do that anymore?
Well, the pandemic screwed that up. And what I found is over video. So to Jay's point, the medium matters. Email is becoming less and less of a thing people want to pay attention to. And he's saying, hey, try a letter because I don't get those anymore. And, I think he's onto something. So for us, we found like Zoom did not work in the pandemic for that type of approach. People just don't buy because they don't have the kind of relationship they have in person.
Right.
So it was really tough on us.
It was this podcast that told me to go and do our pitches in person. And we started doing that. And it just makes so much a difference because in all honesty, what we do right now as in the services that we provide, it's similar to what a lot of agencies do. We're not doing brain surgery. We've not reinvented the process or the deliverables. And what it comes down to really is whether or not you gel with the client, whether or not you speak the same language, where you feel comfortable talking to them, and whether or not you're smiling during the conversation. And you can't really do that on Zoom.
Yeah, because we're in the business of trust, right? We are selling trust. Because what we do, there's a lot of black box to it, especially in the early days. So you have to create a sense of trust and affinity in the marketing process. And email doesn't do that. Email doesn't create a sense of trust and affinity. It's just garbage.
Shawn, are you going back to what you were doing before now that there are more live events? Are you trying to pick up where you left off?
Totally. I mean, and what's good about it is people are really hungry for that. So I'm seeing a lot of engagement for going to events. The other piece that we have started doing that is new is we've started shaping our own events. So we did our Catalyst event in the fall, and then that was an in-person event for small business owners. And then the digital side of it, which has actually been working really well, are something we call Catalyst Labs, which is where we create a small group roundtable of business owners that are addressing a specific issue. Could be, how to be remarkable as an engineering firm, could be how to work on your employer brand. And then I make specific invites. So to Jay's point, that's where the opportunity is to go out to the market and say, hey, I saw you on LinkedIn and you posted something interesting. Would you like to join us for an educational session on that topic and share your insight and learn from others? We can compare notes, get to know each other. That's been really effective. I haven't gotten any business from it, but I've gotten a lot of engagement and a lot of new connections. So that's working really well.
I want to get to one more thing. We got an interesting listener question. It came from the owner of all things, a picture framing shop.
What are the odds of that?
Is this from Jay?
No, it's not. It's from somebody. No, it's from an owner named Rich Ehrenhaus, who was curious to see what responses he would get to the question, when do you know if you've made it? Or do you never know? I'm at a stage where I feel the business is set up for success in the future, assuming we continue to get things right. But I'm not there yet. Part of me is afraid I'll never feel I've gotten there until I'm retiring. But I really hope it is sooner than that. You guys are all at different stages. Have you thought about that?
Absolutely.
I don't think an entrepreneur should ever feel like they've made it. I think that once you have that feeling, then you're not moving forward anymore and you're complacent. I mean, I feel like an imposter when it comes to running a business every day, and it makes me work harder at what I do. But I also realize that everybody feels like an imposter in running a business.
Do you think that's true? Everybody?
I completely disagree with pretty much everything you just said.
Really?
Yeah, I'm older than you. So to be fair, I'm older than you. I've been doing it longer. I'm just telling you, I feel completely liberated that I made it, that there's a certain number, that once you have a certain number, you say, you know what? I will never be hurting for money. I can buy anything I want. Life is grand. I made it. And as far as being complacent, I'm still, going to work. I'm still trying to grow it. Not like I used to, because I don't need to.
When did you know you'd made it, Jay?
When I turned about 50, I've been buying real estate all these years just for the business, and I needed it. And I finally woke up and I looked at what they were worth, and I realized, oh my God, I'm far more successful than I ever imagined. And it's good. And I cannot emphasize enough, I've got this albatross off of me about never doing enough, never being enough. And I hear about people making gazillions of dollars. I watch Mark Cuban on Shark Tank. Good for Mark. He's way smarter than I am. No problem. I don't care. I don't care about who's making how much. I made it. And I can't tell you how liberating that is. So I fully disagree. And I hope that everyone in entrepreneurship gets to the point that they can say, I made it. I don't think grinding it out every day for the rest of your life, thinking I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough. I've been there. It's much better to feel like you made it. So that's what I wish for everyone.
Sarah, what do you think of that?
Well, I think we agree to disagree, because I don't, knowing myself, I'm never going to feel like there are going to be aspects of like, I've done a good job, whatever. But to me, there's always another hill to climb and another opportunity, another challenge. Like, I'm a constant learner. Like, on my way to work today, I was listening to a Coursera. Like, I want to understand and see what I can do to improve myself and my company. And so I don't know that I will ever say, hey, I've checked that box. I would love to be able to get to where Jay is, but I don't think I'll be able to do that until I retire.
Well, we're not disagreeing. I do exactly what you do. I still think about ways to improve things, but maybe your personality type, you just said, maybe you'll never feel that way. Maybe, but that doesn't mean you're wrong or I'm right.
Yeah. I'm my own worst critic, like 100%.
And I used to be.
But sometimes it's important to tell people when you think that you've made it. Like so when I was a TV reporter in Binghamton, New York, my roommate was the morning anchor there, a lovely woman by the name of Kristen Wright. And, she's bopped around from various television stations since then. And she went out of broadcast for a while. And then she got a job at the NPR station in Washington, D.C. doing stuff. And I'm sitting there this morning listening to NPR, and she came on and did a story. And my first reaction was, I texted her and I was like, you made it. You are my hero. And I think part of it is hearing it from other people. I'm never going to be the person that says it to myself. Maybe someday someone will tell me I made it.
And you just set it up perfectly for me. And my message to everyone is be your own hero. That's my message. I don't need I want to be my own hero. And I'm 66. I've been doing this a long time. I wouldn't have said what I just said to you 10 years ago. Well, maybe 10, but It took me a while to finally get to this.
Shawn, how do you think about this issue?
I mean, I think it kind of boils down to extrinsic rewards or intrinsic rewards. And, earlier in my life, I was much more extrinsically motivated. as I built the business, it was all about how do you get to $1 million? Because that's a threshold that a lot of people can't get past. So I work and I get past $1 million. I'm like, okay, well, what now? And okay, well, let's see if you can do it twice, which is build a $2 million business, right? And you work and you do that. And I've just kind of come to a place in my life where I've realized that it's less important to me how other people measure me. And you see, we haven't like applied for awards in a long time because it just hasn't been a value for me, just personally, just like kind of as an emotional, I don't need that validation from outside sources. So I would just encourage your listener to seek within himself, what makes him happy. I think business is a trap to put so much energy into what others say about you. And I feel like Jay's a little bit at that point in his life where he's realized that, and I don't mean to speak for you too much, Jay, but that
give it a shot.
Some of those things that we believe when we're younger are important, you come to realize are a lot less important.
Jay, this question did come from the owner of a picture framing shop.
Just so you know, it's not a picture framing shop. He does high-end, beautiful finished corner frames. He's a supplier of mine. But still, he's in the picture frame business, yes. I had a long talk with him. He's got a lovely story, and he's on a great path. And I think he will absolutely get to a point where he feels successful. He's just only been in it, I think, 7 years.
Well, thank you for correcting me on that. And I guess I just wanted to ask, is there anything about that particular industry that would lend itself toward an answer to this question?
Well, the high-end frame suppliers, there's not many of them left. And he's running a great business that makes those frames for frame shops. And I think he could very easily in the next, 5-10 years, get the business up to a size that he's making plenty of money and life is good. I love picture framers. They work hard. They're trying to make customers happy, and it's a small industry, but we do good things. We make customers happy. So he's in the making customers happy business, and that's why I love picture framing.
All right. My thanks to Shawn Busse, Jay Goltz, and Sarah Segal, and of course to our sponsor, The Great Game of Business, which helps businesses implement open book management and employee ownership. You can learn more at greatgame.com. Thanks for sharing, everyone. Wait, don't leave yet. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like the 21 Hats owners to address, send it to me by replying to your morning report or by email at lauren@21hats.com. That's LOREN@21hats.com. Do it now before you forget. And don't be afraid to tell Jay what you really think. He can take it. And if you got something out of this conversation, help us reach more business owners. Tell a friend. Subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the Morning Report at 21hats.com. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Okay, now you can leave. Thanks for listening, everyone.